what's one way that I should prepare myself to share the gospel? Every single one of us, let's answer this. Aaron, what would you say?
I get real nervous in front of people, so this is kind of nerve-wracking. So I like to practice the gospel. That's why I have a short little method. My wife and I practice at times. Our student ministry, I make them do it as well. So we practice for a mission trip. I got a couple students out here, and every mission trip and training for it, we always practice. So that helps me feel a little bit better about how do I answer some of these questions. So sometimes my wife or someone will play the role of maybe someone who believes in works-based faith, or maybe they have a different religion. And so we do some role playing, and that helps me feel a little bit more prepared for those conversations.
You do that in the student ministry
and sometimes at home.
That's good. That's helpful though. I don't think a lot of us would think about actually practicing it. We're just kind of hoping that it comes to us in the moment, that the Spirit will lead us, but instead it's good for us to practice. Let's see, Mike, what would you say about this?
You know, for me, as far as preparing, I mean, there's a sense at which just reading your Bible, your daily time with the Lord, reading your Bible, that ought to prepare you for that moment. You know, there's a lot of other things I can study, but as long as I'm in the Word every single day, that ought to be taking me up to another level of answering questions and whatever it meant for me. So reading my Bible is the way I'd prepare.
Brian, how about you?
For me, I would say one thing that's essential for us to prepare to share the gospel is spending a lot of time in prayer for lost people. So I would say, look at your sphere of influence, the people that God has brought into your life, and think about 5 of them that need to hear the gospel, and intentionally pray for them. I would even suggest maybe a day of fasting for them, and commit yourself to surrender that if God gives that opportunity, you are going to be the answer to that prayer, that you will share the gospel with him. And God will give you those opportunities. As you faithfully pray, he will open those doors for you.
So practice sharing the gospel, hopefully walking closely with the Lord, but then also praying. I think I would add to that, I fall into this category sometimes where I make assumptions about people. This person across the street goes to church, I just assume that they know the gospel. Or this person says a couple things, or they affirm a couple things that I say, and I'll assume. So I think we need to be careful to not really assume that they know the gospel just because we know a few things. We don't need to make those assumptions.